Here at Paddy Power, we're the home of the Money Back Special, with some incredible offers every single week. Check out the website or app today. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus begambleaware.org.
Hi there, you are warmly welcome to the Racing Post Weekend Postcast. I'm Bruce Millington and I'm delighted to welcome back to the Postcast Paul Kealy. We haven't had him for a few weeks. Also got DJ, David Jennings over in Ireland, and Paddy Power's James Ryan, obviously with Cheltenham looming, we hope. It's not going to be the most star-studded Saturday, but there are loads of really competitive races. The action takes place on ITV4 from Doncaster, from Newbury, and also there's a race at Kelso. So we'll have a good look at them. We'll get all the rest of the Saturday best bets. The lads have sniffed out some value for Sunday, and we will also, because the weights were published this week, get a couple of handicap fancies for the festival from the boys. Right then, before we get into Saturday's racing kills, this hideous winter carries on and on, doesn't it? Chucking it down again. So fingers crossed everything's going to be on. If it is, are we expecting squelchy conditions yet again?
Yeah, I'd imagine so. I mean, you look at different websites and you say like 6-7 mil, but I mean, that makes a lot of difference at this time of year, doesn't it? One thing is, in Newbury's favour, the ground has largely been faster than the official verdict most of the season, so it's probably not that bad at the moment, and they can take it. Doncaster was only sort of good at soft in places to actually get through it as well, but I'd imagine it'd be very soft at both places by the end, by the start of racing. Okay,
so keep your eye on the weather for overnight rain, and we'll see what effect that has. Right then, let's get cracking with Doncaster. First race there is the 150. It's the 888 Sport Handicap Hurdle, 3 miles and half a furlong. James, there's a lot of tricky races Saturday. What's the latest betting on this one?
Yeah, there are indeed, Bruce. We're 4 places here to start us off the day. And the betting is Blackjack Kentucky is a 3-1 favourite, followed by Geordie B at 4-1, and then a couple of horses here at 8-1, a remastered, Cowded Message, and then a load on 10-1. So I'll just say 10-1 bar.
Okay, DJ, away you go. How are you? In good form?
Great form. Yeah. Well, if we got rid of this coronavirus and the bad weather, I'd be in even better form. But sure, such is life. I like a big price one here called Flemcara for Emma Lavelle. Look, I can forgive any horse a bad run at Sandown on heavy ground, and that is what all this horse has done this season. It's only ran once. That was on heavy ground at Sandown. Didn't really handle it. Actually ran better than being pulled up suggests, because it was still there turning in and just got bogged down in the conditions. Since it won a Pertemps qualifier at Exeter this time last year, ran in the Pertemps final at Cheltenham and then ran at Aintree and was disappointing in both. But I think off a mark of 135, only £2 higher than that mark, he won the Pertemps qualifier off at Exeter. I think he's well handicapped and he's worth just taking a chance on at a big price. Flemcara.
Okay, James, who's your first tip of the day going to be?
Yeah, it's going for Geordie B. He's been off for a little while since his run at the start of the year in Newbury. I thought it was a lovely comeback run on ground. It was probably a little bit quicker than ideal, and obviously there looks like there's going to be a bit of rain here overnight. He's still relatively unexposed in comparison to a lot of these, and obviously Venetia's having the season of all seasons as well, so I just think he'll run well.
Okay, Keels, obviously you've been doing a kind of dual-purpose study, keeping your eye on Cheltenham and making sure that you can swell those Cheltenham coffers with a bit of, hopefully, a win or two this weekend.
Well, hopefully, yeah. I mean, the last couple of weeks, punting hasn't been so good. I mean, part of me wanted to do, it's hard thinking about just doing a Paul Nicholls multiple, because he's in flying form. I think it's about 40% in the last 2 weeks. And he's got loads of horses with good chances. Having said that, I keep trying to convince myself not to back Blackjack Kentucky. I don't think his form's all that good. He took a long while to get off the mark. He's only beaten a chaser in Walk on the Mill. Form behind him isn't particularly good in that hurdle race that he won at Chepstow. Geordie B at the front of the market would be the one I like. But I'm going in with Dave on Flemcara. Quite like Flemcara. I backed him a couple of times last year. Unfortunately, not when he won. But interesting thing is that Emma Lavelle has booked Jack Tudor, who is one of the best £5 claimers around. And since the season started proper in October, she got 25% strike rate when using claimers, which is much higher than a normal strike rate. And obviously she's booked a very good one. And the horse is reasonably well handicapped if these young progressive horses don't turn out to be as good as they might be.
Lovely stuff. Let's move on to the 225. It's the 888 Sport. Bet £10, get £30 handicap chase. 2 miles and half a furlong. James, give us a show and then tell us who will win.
Dulles is our 11-4 favourite, followed by Nutswell 5-1, Destrier 5-1, Diala de Sui 5-1, Jerry's Back 7-1, Joke Dancer 8, Capoli 8s, and Gino Trail 12s. I'm going for, it's a very tricky race here. I wouldn't be hugely strongly fancied, but I think Capoli is quite interesting down the very bottom. If you get a load of rain and the ground kind of goes heavy, he's only carrying 10-1. He's been very consistent over 2 miles this year. Didn't look like he really stayed his last start, and he was weakening fairly late on. And obviously for Dr. Richard Newland, hopefully he'll go well, but it wouldn't be an overly strong selection.
You confident, Keels?
I wouldn't say I'm confident, no. But you know me and old horses, and I love them. And I'm going to have, there's a veterans race at Newbury today, but I'm going to have an old horse double in horses that aren't running in it. And one of them is Gino Trail, who has moved from Kerry Lee to Fergal O'Brien. I do find that quite interesting. He's obviously been given a chance by the handicapper, having lost his form. And, you know, I think he's £17 better off for 4 lets with Dolos for a race at Sandown last year. Dolos is the fav. He loves bottomless ground. Fergal O'Brien, again, he had 25% strike rate with horses from other trainers' yards since first time out since 2017. And he's just guaranteed to be fit and ready to go first time for him. And the horse, he jumps like an absolute stag when he's on form. And I can see him going from the front and being hard to pass. And
DJ, who do you like?
Yeah, I'm fairly sweet on Dahlia de Soleil here, Bruce. I know Keels fancies Moira Banrig for the Arkle. And will we go with Dalilia? I don't know how you pronounce it. Dalilia.
I'm not even sure you could spell you could pronounce the Irish one correctly, DJ. What's going on with you?
Dalila.
Dalila de Soy, yeah, that'll do.
Dalila de Soy. I just thought last time against Moira Banrig at Huntington, like it was a kind of a match race, and Moira Banrig won impressively. But this horse traded 2.92 and running, looked like might have had Moira Banrig in a little bit of trouble, went off sevens, traded quite short. I don't think she quite stayed. And her form, all her best form is on like bottomless ground. Won very impressively at Compiègne in France by 12 lengths on heavy ground. On its English debut at Exeter, it was absolutely bottomless that day and it beat Kalahari Queen. I just think off 1-4-3, I think she's well handicapped. So Dalilia de Soy for me.
Okay, the 3 o'clock at Doncaster, the 888 Sport. Take 'em on, mares, novices, hurdling. We've got a fairly strong favourite. It's a 3-mile contest. James, how did Paddy Power bet on this?
Yeah, Killana, Paul Nicholls is our 10-11 favourite, followed by Elena Bob, 7-2, Amy de Savola, 8-1, Early Morning Rain, 12s, Easter Gold, 12s and 16s bar.
Keels, you said you like Paul Nicholls to have a stellar day. Does that mean this will win?
Yeah, I find this hard one to oppose. I mean, it's 10-11, 7-2 on Racing Post ratings. Chilano is £12 clear, I think. And that's a lot. And she's obviously won 2 races, very nicely. And I find her hard to oppose. I mean, on form, the Early Morning Rain would have a chance on pure ability, but I can't see her staying 3 miles.
You don't tend to bet odds on. Would you back this at 10-11?
Well, it's 3 o'clock. If it depends on how much I'm losing by that stage.
That's not very responsible, is it?
No, I won't. I don't bet odds on.
Okay, DJ, how do you approach this race?
Yeah, I agree with Keels. I think as odds-on shots go, 10-11 is very fair about Killana. I think the key thing with her is I think she'll appreciate the 3 miles. I think she's a thorough stayer. And that form from Warwick earlier on the season with Emma's Joy, this day last week, Emma's Joy was really impressive again at Warwick in a graded race. And I think she's just getting better and I think she'll win. Okay,
James, have we got 3 votes for the Fav here?
Yeah, we do indeed. That novice hurdle, the last day's worked out pretty well. The second and third winning since, and she won very, very easily that day. And obviously, I don't think the ground will be any issue, no matter how kind of soft it gets. Yeah, I think it should be very hard to beat.
Okay, let's move on to the 3:35 at Donny. It's the 888 Sport Grimthorpe Handicap Chase. 3 miles, 2 furlongs. Will take some getting. Slightly muddied picture, this Kills, isn't it? Because 2 of the principals are more likely to run at Kelso, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I don't know whether Kelso's in any danger or not. I mean, and it's strange, really, because definitely Red, I would definitely back if he was running in this. He got beat a 6 on in that Kelso race last year, but obviously it's an easier prep for the Grand National, so that's where he's likely to go. But he won this race by 14 lengths in 2017, and he was back to form last time, but obviously you can't touch him. So, Paul Nicholls again's got the favourite in Worthy Farm. Harry Cobden is up at Doncaster, despite the fact that the Greatwood is on at Newbury, the race that Nicholls wins 10 times out of the last 16 years or something. So you've got to think he's got a good chance. When he won at Wincanton last time, the runner-up out-jumped him at virtually every fence, and he still went by him. So I think he's probably still well handicapped, but I've given one more chance to Captain Chaos, who would not be the most battle would not be the most hardy horse in a battle, but what he does love is really, really deep ground and just to gallop and gallop and gallop. I mean, he got fairly thrashed by Kimberlite Candy last time at Warwick. I think Kimberlite Candy will go close in the Grand National. And you know, when he gets his conditions, bad ground, he's very hard to kick out.
Each way though?
Yeah, each way. Yeah, I'll back it each way.
Okay, let's find out the latest betting from Paddy Power. James.
Yeah, Worthy Farm is 7-2 favourite. Baldmere 9-2. Yaltari 6-1. The Captain Chaos there, the Paul said was 6-1. Chilswell 7-1 and 10-1 bar.
Who do you like, DJ?
I'm going to chance Aaron's Lad, Bruce, for Richard Newland. The funny thing about this horse is he's only had 3 starts over fences, and going into a race like this, you'd be a little bit worried about inexperience. But he beat a real useful yardstick in Prime Venture, who ran so well in the Welsh National last time at Exeter. And that, I just thought he got his confidence back, his jumping improved, it was on heavy ground. And like you go back through his hurdling form, he got up to 141 at one stage over hurdles. He's only gone up £3 for winning that race at Exeter. And I thought he got off quite lightly because I thought he beat Prime Venture fair and square. So given the scope for more improvement, I'm going to go for Aaron's Lad.
I'm looking up and down the race card. I can't find one called that.
Aaron Lad.
Yeah, I can find one called Aaron Lad, but there's not one called Aaron's Lad.
Sorry about that. I added an S. It's hardly a sacking offence.
I know. I was only pulling your leg, DJ. Who do you fancy, James?
Yeah, I quite like one here. I quite like Yaltari. I thought he ran pretty well at the end of last year in that Grade 2 in Ascot when he was behind Mr. Malarkey and now McGinty. And obviously the two of them have come on flank before him since. And he would have finished a good bit closer to them, but he absolutely ploughed through the last. I think I put him up on his reappearance this year. And he ran an awful... he ran well a long way until they're kind of coming from home. It looked like he got tired in what was very, very heavy ground that day. And the support from that day in the market was, they absolutely backed him off the boards into 130, even though he'd been off for a year. Obviously, Venetia's horses are running exceptional this year. And I just think the fact that they also kept him in the King George till quite late on as well when they ended up running him in that handicap on the 21st of December. So I just think he's a fairly interesting horse here of this 3 mile 2 distance in Donny. Yeah, quite fancy him.
Lovely stuff. Thank you, gents. Let's do Newbury and Kelso next.
So, does an each-way bet mean that my horse has to do part of the race in reverse?
Everyone loves a newbie. That's why Paddy Power Games are giving all new customers 60 free spins on daily jackpot games. New Paddy Power Games customers only, 1 per customer. T's and C's apply. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
Welcome back. Let's look at the other 3 live races on ITV for tomorrow. Starting with the 205 at Newbury, which is the William Hill supporting Greatwood Veterans Handicap Chase over 3 miles and 2 furlongs. And James Ryan, take us away with the show from Paddy Power.
Yeah, La Roche is our 4-1 favourite. Joe Farrell is 9-2. Virgilio 11-2. Single Farm Payment 6-1. Theatre Guide 13-2. Dark Blame 13-2 and 9's Bar.
And we'll stick with you for the first tip.
Yeah, so I'm going with probably Niall O'Reilly's favourite horse in training, Joe Farrell. He's back down to the mark when he was only length behind Villeneuve and Rouge at the start of the campaign. He ran pretty well in the Ladbrokes Trophy. He was still beating 17 lengths. But I just think he's a pretty serious jumper, and in kind of a veterans race, it's a bit of a step down in comparison to a Ladbrokes Trophy. Don't think he'd want this to turn into an absolute quagmire, but I still think he'll be fairly solid, and hopefully he'll be there or thereabouts.
No one loves a veterans chase more than Keels. What have you got for us?
Oh yeah, I mean the strategy with veterans chase is generally to go for the youngest horses in the race because they've got a far better record than most. And I like La Roche for Nick Williams. Thought he ran a really good race at Sandown in a good quality handicap chase, won by Dizaba, who is going to be one of the market leaders for the Kim Muir next week or week after next. And he was beaten 10 lengths, but he had some decent handicap chases behind him. He can't have the ground soft enough. And I just think he'll run very well. You look at the other 10-year-olds in the race, Single Farm Payment doesn't want to win. And Anthony's been out of form for years. And I just think he's going to be the one to beat.
David Jennings, who do you like?
Yeah, a similar strategy to Keels. But it's funny, like Strong Pursuit is in this race in a veterans chase. And he's a 10-year-old. He's had 4 starts over fences. And he's only had 9 starts in his whole career. So obviously things haven't gone according to the plan. But I think he likes Newbury. On his 2 starts at Newbury, he was just beaten by Reigning Supreme. And then he was very, very impressive when he beat Morello Royale. Now, that was back in 2017, and he was off for ages after that. But I did think there was a bit of promise of his return to action at Sandown last year. And I would forgive completely his run at Newbury at Christmas because Indy 5 was in the race. Strong Pursuit likes the lead. Indy 5 just kept taking him on the whole way. And Copperhead ended up winning the race. We all know what Copperhead has gone on to achieve. And I just wonder, does this horse just have a little bit where the rest of them are all on the way down? I just wonder, is there potential for him to improve a little bit? And off a mark of 132, he has to be well handicapped if he retains any of his old ability. So strong pursuit for me.
There's a race at Kelso on ITV. It takes place at 2:45, and it's the William Hill Premier Novices Hurdle. 2 miles, 2 furlongs. Paul Nicholls as the favourite, James.
It does indeed. Calva Douage is 13-8. Clondalk Caitlin 2-1. Cheltenham 5-1. 12-1 bar.
Keels?
Yeah, I thought Clondalk Caitlin had easily the best form in the race and just goes really, really well on soft ground and would be very hard to beat. I mean, you're pulling different strands of form together, so haven't got many form lines that cross. But I just thought on the figures, especially Racing Post ratings, that she is definitely the one to beat at the weights.
Who are you going to opt for, DJ?
Yeah, I'm the same. With this Calva Douage, how do you pronounce it? I'm terrible with names today for some reason.
Calva Douage.
Calva Douage. I thought I plumped him. I thought Fraser Island should have won that day. I didn't think Nico got stuck into Fraser Island at all that day. I think it still has a bit to prove. And Clondalk Caitlin, as Keel said, ground should be no problem and seems to be getting better all the time. I'm not convinced by the Nicholls horse at all, so I'm with Keels.
Too many French names, aren't there, Keels? There
are. Yeah, most of them. Yeah.
So, we were talking today, actually, obviously Undersow's been retired. If he was called Lucky Boy or something, he'd be so much more loved. He's one of the most underappreciated racehorses there is.
I think he has an awful lot of appreciation.
There is a lot of love for him, but I still don't think... I think he's even better than people think. James, who wins the 2:45 at Kelso?
Yeah, I won't take up too much of your time here. I'm going to row in behind the 2 lads. Just think it's probably the best form on offer. And again, wasn't totally convinced by Calva Douage the last day. So happy enough rowing in with the 2 lads. 3
votes for Clondalk Caitlin there. That's good. We're back at Newbury now for the 3:15. Big race of the day. The William Hill supporting Greatwood Gold Cup over 2 miles, 4 furlongs. A terrifically competitive affair. This, James, give us the show from Paddy Power.
Yeah, and we're 4 places here, Bruce. And Monte Avier is our 9-2 favourite, followed by Secret Investor 13-2, Benny's King 7s, Clondalk Castle 7s, San Benedeto 8s, Bags Groove 10s and 10s bar.
DJ, have you got a strong view?
I do. This is the horse I've been waiting on all week, Bruce. I fancy Monde Avois. I know it's obvious and he's likely to be favourite, but he's still a decent price. Like, Paul Nicholls is an unbelievable record in this race. Like, it's incredible, really. I think he's trained 9 of the last 16 winners. And this horse just ticks all the trends for the race. Age between 6 and 8. You can't carry more than 11 stone 5. The amount of chase runs, the winning over the distance, everything. He just ticks all the boxes. And I thought last time at Newbury, he ran over 2 miles, 7.5 furlongs. And himself and Sussex Ranger were kind of level coming down to the last. And he just got outstayed. I do think he likes Newbury because it's a jumping test. And I think he's a good jumper. And I just think this trip, 2 mile 4, Newbury, perfect. Paul Nicholls, ideal.
James, who's your idea of the winner?
Yeah, very similar to DJ there. Montes Avier, he just, he fairly went on my radar last time and he just clearly didn't stay. And this is his first start. His first start of the year obviously was running that grade 2 against Champ and he jumped like an absolute pro. So, I think over this trip he'll also settle a bit better. He can be a bit keen. So I just think he still could be open to massively improvement. I think one thing I really rate in Bryony is their ability to actually get horses settled. So I think if you can get this lad settled, and get them into a rhythm jump, and I'd still think there could be an awful lot of improvement with him. He's probably one. Yeah, he's fancy him now.
Okay, and don't forget 4 places with Paddy Power available at paddypower.com and also on the Racing Post app and racingpost.com. Kills, you going to go for the fav as well?
I'm not going to go for it. I can easily see him winning, and I think he might end up something like 5-2, 9-4 as well. I think you can see the gamble coming. Paul Nicholls has won 9 of the last 16. And I tried to be too bloody clever doing the weekend earlier on in the week, and I thought, I've got to take this on with something, and I tipped 2 horses, tipped to back 2 horses that aren't running. So, it's not been a very good race for me this year. I think he'll go very close to Montes Avois. He does jump well, and the trip will be perfect. But I am going to have a little bit each way on the absolute outside of Valdez, the other 13-year-old. He goes really, really well at Newbury. He's always run well at Newbury, and he travelled well for a really long way, trying 3 mile at the first time in the Denman Chase behind Native River the other day. He was 3rd in this race last year at 16-1. He's actually got a higher handicap mark now because he's been in better form. He's got no problem with soft ground, and I think he'll be thereabouts at the end. And I'll just take a little each way shot on him.
And also, Kills, I was thinking about it. He's 13, which is going to put a lot of people off, but he's sort of a new 13-year-old, if you know what I mean. If you back a 13-year-old in, November, December, then they're nearly 14, aren't they? So you wouldn't worry too much.
There's also the fact that he's been, he's had loads of injuries, so he's reasonably fresh 13-year-old as well. Like, you know what I mean? He hasn't run 100 times or anything like, you know what I mean? So, and he seems to go through his races with plenty of enthusiasm, and he's still obviously got a lot of ability.
Lovely. Let's see what else we've got on Saturday. We've obviously got the rest of Doncaster, Kelso and Newbury. They're also racing at Lingfield, over in Ireland, Navan, and there's an all-weather card at Southall. So let's see what the lads fancy. In the non-televised races, don't give your naps away. Kills.
I only have one. We have a veterans handicap hurdle at Newbury, which is rather ridiculous because you can be 8. Now, if you're 8 in February, you're in the absolute peak of your condition as far as jump racing is concerned, aren't you? Which is a little bit weird. But I'm still going to go for an older horse. Del Arca, trained by Martin Pipe, was 3rd last time on the track. He just loves Newbury. He's been 2nd in a Betfair hurdle. He was actually 6 years ago. He was 2nd to Coney Gree in a novice chase, only beaten a length and a half. And he's also, he's also won there. He ran 4 times in his life on the flat in Britain. And the one time he ran at Newbury, he won. So every time he's gone there, he's run well. And I think he'll go well again.
What time's that?
I'm trying to think. I think it's 1:30, but I'm trying to get it to work. Yes, 1:30.
Okay. DJ, what have you got for us?
I have 2 for you at Navan, Bruce. And the 403, it's actually a grade 3. It's hard to believe there's a grade 3 in Ireland the week before Cheltenham, but the Flying Bolt novice chase. Cut the Mustard is likely to be favoured here for Willie Mullins and Paul Townend, but the one I like is I'm a Game Changer for Gordon Elliott and Davy Russell. Like, it's rated 142, so you'd imagine the festival would have been part of the plan, but obviously not. Was 2nd to Tornado Flyer on its last start at Navan over the same, almost the same trip, just a furlong further, and has form tied in like with Cashback. When he fell that day, he was going quite well and was 3rd behind Fakir Dare and Mellon early on in the season. So I think off a mark of 142, if he runs to that level, I think it'll be good enough to win it. And in the very next race at Navan, the 438, Spare Breaks runs for Robert Tyner and Philip Enright. Robert Tyner has a good record in handicap chase at Navan, and I think that Spare Breaks just was coming back into a bit of form. Fell last time at Fairyhouse when holding every chance behind Velocity Boy. The ground cannot be soft enough for this horse, and I'm from Navan, and it has been raining cats and dogs, so the ground is going to be really, really heavy, and I think Spare Breaks can win the 438.
Where do you stand on these weird new off times, DJ? Are you perfectly blasé about it, or do they get under your skin a little?
No, I just think we want to be able to see the races properly. So I don't think it matters what the actual time is called or what time it is. I just want to see the races properly. I don't want split screens, so I'm happy.
Doesn't bother you at all, does it, Kills?
Not remotely. It's a great idea. Why didn't somebody think of it like 40 years ago?
Yeah, you are.
You know
right.
what I mean?
I don't know. There's still something that just slightly irritates me. I don't know. James, you're presumably a young, modern thinking person. It probably doesn't bother you one iota to the race times, does it?
No, it wouldn't bother me at all, Bruce.
Okay.
I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's just me then. Okay, what have you got for us, James?
Yeah, I'm going to bring us to Saudi Arabia and Riyadh. There's an absolute cracking card. If anyone hasn't gone through it, I'd highly recommend if they're into the flat racing. So the 1 o'clock in Riyadh, I think Intelligent is the bet here. He looks way overpriced, I think, at 16-1. He won the pre-Jan Fat there 2 years ago. Ran quite well in Bahrain last time out, but we'd recognise horses. Deirdre is kind of making the market at 4-6, and there's only 9 runners, so it's kind of a nice each-way feel to it. And the others racing's on Racing TV and Sky Sports Racing as well, so we'll be able to follow it through the day. The 135 is a 7 furlong race, and it's essentially a 7 furlong Group 2 that will be held in the UK with all the UK runners in it. It's just a really, really competitive heat. Glorious Journey is the favourite in it. But there's Sir Dancelot, Sudwa, Mumpkin, and I'm going to go for Mumpkin here at 14-1. I just don't think there's a whole lot between those horses. And of course, Prince Fahail is from Saudi Arabia himself, so I'm sure this lad will have been planned to go there from quite a while away. The 210 is the Stayers race, and Cross Counter is the favourite here at 15-8. And DXB is in it, True Self is in it for Willie Mullins. It's a cracking race. I think Cross Counter there will go very close again against over £1 million to the winner. And then the race we've all been waiting for, the 540, is the Saudi Cup, which is a £15 million sterling race. It's just an absolute belter of a race. It's headed by Maxim Security, who, of course, was demoted in the infamous Kentucky Derby last year. Has turned out to be by far the best horse in that race. He's won nearly every start since. Coolmore have actually bought into him just before this race, and they're hopefully going to get a return on their investment at 7.5 million to the winner. the dirt track, just from the guys having watching a bit of racing out in Saudi Arabia, looks like there's a lot of horses coming from off the pace. It looks fairly deep and sandy. And the word on the street is that it's for stayers. So like if it's over a mile 2, it's kind of playing like a mile 4 race, which is enough for me to draw a line through Ben Battle and McKinsey. And Tacitus looks quite overpriced. He'll stay on from the back, and he's a bit quirky, but I can really see him staying on, picking up the pieces, and definitely be placed. If not, hopefully he can go close. But yeah, it's an interesting card.
Absolutely, yeah. If Global Flat Racing is your thing, that's a hell of a card. Will you be paying it any attention, Keels?
Not remotely, no.
Won't you? Oh, fair enough. Okay, that's all right. Let's get the naps.
This will not be beaten.
David Jennings.
Bruce, there's a horse run in the 5 o'clock at Newbury called Es Perfecto, trained by Alan King. I thought it ran a gorgeous race on its first start. I think this could be a really, really nice animal, and I've been waiting for him to run ever since, and I think he'll win. Es Perfecto, 5 o'clock, Newbury.
James Ryan.
The 3:15 Newbury, Montezavier.
And Keels.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Delarca in the 1:30 at Newbury. I think it might be a fair price.
Okay, let's look at Sunday and look ahead to Cheltenham next.
Check out Paddy's Rewards Club. Simply place 5 bets of £10 or more across any sport in a week, and you'll get a free £10 bet then next week. T&Cs apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Welcome back. It's the Racing Post Weekend Postcast with Bruce Millington, Paul Kealy, David Jennings and Paddy Powers, James Ryan. You're not going to get a stellar Sunday card at this time of year because all the decent horses are obviously being aimed at the Cheltenham Festival. But there's some decent racing. We race in Ireland at Leopardstown and also Sedgefield and Huntingdon. The lads have had their magnifying glasses out to see if they can suss some winners. DJ, we'll see what you've got.
Yeah, it's always an interesting card at Leopardstown, and there's one race that's always really interesting. It's the 305. It's a 2-mile 2 hurdle race, and the conditions of the race mean we get some strange horses turning up, like Jeski, who won a champion hurdle, won it in 2018. Felix Younger won it. Grey Field won it. So it throws up kind of former stars, and the likes of Mengli Khan is in it this year. And remember Charlie Parks? Charlie Parks is actually returning from an absolute age off the track, nearly 2 years. He's now with Aidan Howard and Barry Gardy rides. But the one I like in the race, and I'm taking a chance here, is a horse called Jets, who's trained by Jessica Harrington, better known as a chaser, hasn't run over hurdles for ages. But Jessica won this race, obviously, with Jetski in 2018. And I just wonder, with Jets, jumping has just been a big issue for him. He's not bending his back properly. On his day, he's a really, really talented horse, Jets. And I think this could just be what he needs. Back over hurdles, confidence booster. So Jets in the 305 at Leopardstown, Bruce.
What have you got for us, James?
Yeah, I'll just call out one of the offers we have. It's 230 with the second, third, and fourth back money back special. So for a tenner, that's on the 230 in Leopardstown. But the one that I really like here is in Leopardstown is the 440. I just can't see this horse being beaten. It's one of the strongest bets of the weekend. Poker Party. I'd say he'll be short enough, but he looks well ahead of these in the big handicap chase.
Define short enough.
Sorry, I'd say he'll probably be shorter than 2-1 anyway. But like he's the only one that has any sort of form coming into this race. He was fourth, very close fourth to the infamous Roaring Bull in the Paddy Power Chase over Christmas, and this is a really nice prize for them to pick up. And it just looks a really weak race. Any horse that's kind of the 2 mile 5 kind of range, they're just been holding back and probably just going for Cheltenham with them. But like the likes of Annabelle Fly is in here, who strip will be too short. And there's just not much that has run any sort of form recently. I just think he's pretty much a good thing for the weekend now, I'd say.
Okay, you're not allowed to pronounce Rolling Ball with your normal voice. You have to go, Rolling Ball! Keels.
That was ridiculous.
That was just like it.
Yeah, I know, but I'm sitting right next to you. My ear hurts. Yeah, I got 2. One at Huntingdon, one at Sedgefield. 355 Huntingdon. The top one in there, Iblio, trained by Venetia Williams, and one of his last 2. They absolutely bolted up last time, and I reckon he's going to be a short price, but I don't think he's guaranteed to stay an extra half a mile. So I'm going to take it on with El Presente, who on his chase debut earlier in the season ran a really good 4th behind Dayran the Carjack, Pim and Watmore. Was only beaten 4 or so lengths. He was then backed well into favouritism in a handicap chase, which was won by Copperhead, and he just unseated too early. But he's coming back after a break now, and Kim Bailey is obviously now in very, very good form. So I think he'll go well. And in the 420 at Sedge, another horse that didn't finish last time, the Paddy Pie, trained by Sue Smith, he's become very well handicapped, and he was he'd just been joined 3 out at Wetherby, but the front 2 were pulling miles clear, and he wasn't done with by any stretch of the imagination. So his comeback to form is on the same mark, and I think he'll go well.
Okay, the Cheltenham Festival handicap weights were released this week, so I'm sure the boys have taken a lot of interest in that. And I've just asked them to come up with a couple of handicap good things for the festival for us each. So, Keeles, I think you should go first.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I've put up Imperial Aura a few times, so we'll do a couple of different ones. First of all, the Coral Cup. I really like the look of Stolen Silver. Novice trained by Nigel Twiston-Davis. He's only 5. He outstayed Edwardstone in the Grade 2 race at Haydock and the Bannakin Revel. That was on really bad ground, and he looked beat 2 out. He was still 3 or 4 lengths down at the last, and he came through with a rattle and got up. Ran in the Betfair hurdle last time, and it was on good ground, and he was 21st of the 22 remaining runners, jumping the last and finished 8th. He just flew home, absolutely crying out for a step up and trip, which is what he'll get, and I think he'll go close. And
that's on the Wednesday.
That's on the Wednesday, the Coral Cup. And let me think about it. Yeah, on Saturday, Kildesart, I thought you had a really eye-catching 5th in the old Racing Post Chase.
What's it called now?
Was it 8 Sport Chase, something like that?
Yeah,
sorry, I can't remember what it was called. But I was there, and he was out of shot 2 out, and then he really rattled home. That's the best form he's shown for a while. Obviously, Ben Paul, another trainer, has been badly out of form. But he's come back. I think he wants to go left-handed. There's a little bit of an issue about the ground, but I mean, he has won on soft ground. And, he won on trials day at Cheltenham last year. He was 4th in the JLT to, Deffy and lost in translation. So he's got some fair Cheltenham form to his name. He will stay and he'll go close too.
Is that in the Ultima, is it?
It's the Ultima,
Ultima on the Tuesday. Now, Keeles obviously he spends his entire life thinking about Cheltenham, but he took 2 weeks away from the office recently just to compile about 50,000 words for the Racing Post Cheltenham Guide, which is the most fantastic book, and you can buy it at racingpost.com. Go on to shop. DJ, give us a couple for the Cheltenham handicaps.
I actually read almost all of Keeles' stuff on the way back from Gibraltar during the week, on the way to Gibraltar. I did, yeah. And he is actually, not to push the book, but he's got a lovely style of writing, because you read it and you go, geez, do you know what? He's right. So it was very believable. But a couple for me. Look, I've said it at every preview night I've been at. My nap of the entire festival is Aramax in the Boodles Juvenile Hurdle, formerly known as the Fred Winter. He's 5-1 now with Paddy Power. I still think he'll go off about 5-2 on the day. At the moment, he's rated 138. At the moment, he's got 10 stone 5. Obviously, that'll go up because Solo is not going to run. But off a mark of 138, I'd be very disappointed if he doesn't have at least £10 in hand. I think he's a really, really good horse. I think he'd have a chance in the Triumph Hurdle. So Aramax in the Boodles. In the Northern Trust Novice Handicap Chase, I know Keeles is absolutely mad on Imperial Aura. I fancy Hold the Note. I think he's the best horse in the race. And I think he's got a big chance. He's rated 145. In the Coral Cup, again, class angle. I think Birchdale off 146 could just be better than a lot of them. I think in time he could end up being a Grade 1 chaser. So Birchdale in the Coral Cup. And that's in the Grand...
I asked for 2 and I've already got 3. So that's okay. It. But you are going to have to just tell us the name of this other one, because if it wins and we don't know it, then we'll all be going, come on, we don't care why. Who is it?
Okay, just Lisp in the Grand Annual.
Okay, right. 2 from you, please, James. What have you got?
Yeah, no bother. So Relegate for Colin Murphy. Of course, Colin Murphy has been off the track for quite a while, or off the training front for quite a while, and is back this year. And Relegate ran a really, really eye-catching race in a per-times qualifier in Punchestown there recently, running on nice into 4th under Brian Hayes, having been out the back. So one thing that she really struggled with earlier on in her career was her jumping, and it was the first day where she looked really, really slick over her hurdles. The handicapper's given her a chance by putting her up to 1, 3, 6 or 7, which should get her into the race. So that's, one times the handicappers kind of played in their favour. But I think she could go really close, and I can see her going off close to 5 on the day. Colin Murphy has obviously targeted this for quite a while. That's in the Pertoms. And then the Brown Advisory in Maribel, I think Simply the Best is going to go off fairly short here. He won that novice chase, the time form novice handicap chase at Cheltenham. That just has a brilliant record. Like Clydesdale won it last year and then ran a blinder in the JLT at Cheltenham. Has obviously won a handicap then an entry post that, and Mr. Whittaker then came from winning that novice handicap chase as well. I just thought the way Simply the Best won it that day, I just think he still could have an awful lot in hand, and I can see him going out fairly short in this and being very, very hard to see out of the top three going forward.
Thank you very much, gents. That's perfect. Now, listen, one market I'm not going to ask you about is this: will they race at Cheltenham or not? I don't get it. I've been away for a few weeks. While I was away, did everyone in racing go to attend some course to become an expert in contagious viruses? Because they all seem to have an opinion. How does anyone know? We don't know. We've just got to wait and see and keep our fingers crossed. Keels, weekend plans?
Well, I've done my whole day of being a Twitter ignoramus when I was talking about that yesterday, funnily enough. My weekend plans are very, very quiet because I'll be between Cheltenham previews. So I'm going to take it very easy over the weekend because I'm going to have a few boozy ones next week. OK. DJ, have you got any Cheltenham previews this weekend to do?
No, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. So I've a little bit of a break, so I'll be fresh for next week.
James, do you appear on any panels or indeed you go as a punter to any of these Cheltenham nights?
I used to always go, and then
DJ started doing them.
Exactly, yeah, and that really drove me up the wall. I know. I went to a couple of Paddy Power ones there. With Frank was at a couple, so we went to kind of support him or more so heckle him. But no, you do get a good bit of information out of them from whoever is doing them. So they're always worthwhile going to anyway.
And what did Frank give us? What's he fancy?
He had a list as long as his arm now, nearly 3 or 4 in every race.
Pick one.
But sorry,
which is the one he's been banging on about the most?
Riders on the Storm.
Yeah, he did like Riders on the Storm, but he's been off on paternity leave there for the last 2 weeks as well. He's just back in today, but I know he liked Relegate as well because I was chatting to him about her. But yeah, no, he's fairly keen on a couple anyway.
Lovely stuff. OK, James, thank you very much. Thank you, DJ, and thank you, Keels. If you enjoy these shows, please do make sure you rate, review and subscribe wherever you're listening, and tell us on our YouTube page who you fancy this weekend and indeed for Cheltenham. Maddie is back on Monday to review the weekend, look ahead to Sandown next Saturday and probably also get involved in Cheltenham. In the meantime, bet responsibly, have a great weekend.
I'm Jose Mourinho. I know a thing or two about being special. Getting a road named after you in your hometown, special. Winning the daily jackpot on Paddy Power games, not special.
Understood, Jose. Yes, someone wins an average £40,000 jackpot every single day. So if you win, don't think you're special. Daily Jackpots by Paddy Power Games. Jackpots must be awarded by 11 p.m. and vary from day to day. Jackpot is shared with other operators. Available on selected games. T's and C's at paddypower.com. 18+ BGambleAware.org.